The reason I started lifting was because of the bullying and because of the free time. Okay, so I was too young to go to a gym. You had to be 16. I was 14. I gathered some cinder blocks from around the neighborhood, which was everywhere. There was constant construction going on, and a broomstick. Put that together, made a makeshift barbell, and for a 14-year-old Larry, that was more than enough weight. I didn't need all the plates in the gym. Got a pull-up bar set up in my door frame, and I made it work. I used YouTube to educate myself on what exercises to do, and I just did biceps and chest every day.
So when you were in this island, it was just you and your mom, no dad?
That's right.
Where was the dad?
Dad was out of the picture since I was 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, deadbeat. To this day, we still don't speak. We have attempted from both sides to enter each other's lives, but he's just not stable. Last time he came, he was drunk. And yeah, he's asking me for money. And I was 18 at the time, a teenager. Like, okay, this is not the kind of influence I need in my life, especially he hasn't been here this whole time. I was not trying to be his parent, and I just wasn't looking to take on that kind of responsibility because he was a mess. He wasn't the kind of person, influence I needed in my life. And see, had he been there for me growing up, I would have felt differently about that. For example, my mom's always been there best as she could, so I'm happy to help her out, to my best of ability. But with my father, to his defense, and I totally understand. Not sure if I agree with it, have me in my mind about that, but he was very, very young when he had me. I think it was like 18, 19 when he had me. So any 18, 19-year-old is not ready for a child. And he just felt there was too much responsibility, and he decided to leave. So he hadn't lived his life yet, didn't get the chance to. I mean, when the baby comes on, I haven't had children yet, but I imagine your life gets turned upside down, like all your priorities shift to embracing a child, and someone that isn't even old enough to drink yet isn't ready for that. So.
Yeah, well, it's pretty messed up that there was an attempt for you guys to meet, and he was drunk.
Yeah,
a good start. You moved back to New York. This was after you'd been on the island.
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
Moved back to New York.
Yeah.
In the city, and I spent a lot of time in the Bronx and Washington Heights.
Were you at school at this point?
And yeah, so as soon as I came back, I went to school. I was several years behind from not being in school when I was in St. Martin, so I had to get a GED, and that's where my education stopped.
What's a GED?
It's
ignorant.
General Education Diploma. It's like a high school equivalent. Mm-hmm. That's what I had gotten as soon as I came back, after I realized I didn't want to spend. So I would have graduated if I continued on that path when I came back to the States at like 21 or 22 from high school. Mm. Right? Normally you graduate from 17. So I was way, way, way behind. It was ridiculous. So let me get my GED. It took me a few months. And then I went to community college to try and study criminal justice because I didn't know what to do with myself. But luckily, when I was, this happened quite a few years later, but when I was 21, I discovered how to monetize my social media. I skipped a few things that happened in between, but I didn't actually end up using that GED for anything.
Yeah. At what point did you decide, okay, I'm going to dabble in some substances?
Yeah. So see, when I was 17, the friend that I was my workout partner and the person I spent all my time with, we would party everywhere, right? We would go out every other day. I was experimenting with drugs at the time. I tried all the drugs, had a lot of fun doing it, but I realized that he was going down a very dark path. I could see it in him, right? He was changing before my eyes, and it was just getting worse and worse. And of course, naturally, so was I, because I was spending all my time with him. And he suggested that I try taking testosterone. And it didn't take very long for me to decide that was a good decision.
17.
Yeah, at 17, yeah. Didn't take very long for me to think, this is a great idea. And that's exactly what I did. I started testosterone at 17.
Was there a noticeable difference?
Yeah, I mean, I went from maybe 95 kilograms to 110 in 2 months. So it was a night and day difference. A lot of that being water retention. I was a blowfish, super bloated. But I loved it. I felt so much bigger, felt so much stronger. It was just a big transformation.
You didn't worry about any of the negative consequences. You just like, no, I'm doing this.
Well, I did, but I chose it as like the lesser evil because the way I was going, I was just going to end up homeless, like my friend was. I don't know where he's at today, if he's doing okay or not, because he's not active on social media. But if I continue down that path, it was only going to be even worse than abusing PEDs, right? It was a lesser evil. I chose my poison. It was going to be either alcohol and drugs or PEDs. Because once I started PEDs, I no longer had to sip alcohol. I didn't do any recreational drugs at all. I did smoke weed every day for like 10 years. But I didn't see that as a hindrance to my progress or my goals, because I was able to achieve all these world records while smoking every day, right? But when I came to the Bible, that stopped, even smoking. But at that time, lost my train of thought, but I think I answered your question.
So, but what would you say, or what advice would you give to other youngsters who are in a similar situation to you, 17, 18, 19, and they're thinking, oh, I want to hop on the juice as well?
Right. So I think first off, you have to understand what your goals are and how serious and committed you are to achieving them. If you're looking to be the next Mr. Olympia, if that's how big your ambition is, then you do need PEDs. The sooner you get on PEDs, the sooner that you do everything in your control to make it there, the better, right? A lot of the greats today started very, very early, and that just gives them more time to get where they want to be, right? You do have a shelf life of being in your prime, being healthy, being able to tolerate these substances. But if your ambition does not lie at being number one in whatever you want to do,
like if you just want to get in shape.
If you just want to get in shape, right, then it is absolutely unnecessary. No doubt, being on PEDs does give you an edge, right? No question about it. You can get away with eating dirtier, with not calculating your training, like not being on a training program and still making progress, 100%. But there is a price to pay. And you don't have to pay that price. You can just take your time and to put in the extra effort it takes to do it the natural way. Because if you're 17, 18, your test levels are likely going to be through the roof, the highest they're ever going to be in your life. There is a chance, though, that you're the outlier where it isn't. And that's when, if you're 17, 18 watching this, it won't hurt to get your bloods done, see what your testosterone levels are at, and make sure it's in the normal range. Because it's possible that you could be a teenager with low testosterone, struggling to make progress, doing everything right, not understanding and realizing that you actually have low testosterone because of your genetics.